Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/OhNoConsequences. As per usual, I'll be reading you the post, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Also, super quickly, there's gonna be a little Black Friday sale for both Makeship and Gamer subs. Makeship is doing a site-wide 10% discount with free shipping on orders above $100, so if you want to snag yourself the opossums in a trench coat, you can go do that real quick at a 10% discount. Gamer Subs, for those of you who are fellow caffeine addicts, Gamer Subs is doing a 20% site-wide Black Friday sale for all creator codes, so you should use Oz at checkout because that supports me directly. And this will be starting Friday, November 28th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and be going until Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you got 24 hours to take full advantage of 20% off. It's only lasting for 24 hours because this kind of sale at this rate is unsustainable, so please take full advantage of it. Anyways, back to your regularly scheduled content. Cross posted from r/Am I the Asshole. Am I the asshole for robbing my wife's affair partner, which has now led to his divorce? I, 32, have been married to my soon-to-be ex-wife, 30, Madison, for 4 years. We are currently in counseling, but it's not going to work. About a year ago, I found out she was having an affair by coming home to their clothes in our living room and the sounds coming from our bedroom. I lost it. I was getting my cricket bat out of the front closet when I stopped to think about consequences. I did not want to go to jail. Instead, I took all their clothes and left quietly. I went to a friend's house, but not before throwing all the clothes in McDonald's garbage can. I turned off my phone and got shit-faced with my buddy. His wife hosed us off in the morning. After I turned my phone back on, I had dozens of calls and texts from Madison. First scared because she got my updated flight information. Then upset that I hadn't called her to let her know I was going to be coming home early. Then freaked out that the house had been broken into. Then crazy because she figured out it was me. They just got more deranged. The guy she was with is 5 inches shorter than me and about 60 pounds lighter. So if he had taken my clothes, it would have been obvious. He ended up calling his friend to get his spare keys from his house. Unfortunately for him, his wife smelled a rat and followed his friend back to my house, where she saw him leaving in oversized clothes. Long story short, she took pictures and she had evidence of his infidelity, which caused their prenup to be canceled, which cost him a lot of money. It is all one big giant shit show. It took a couple of months, but my wife convinced me to try and forgive her. We started going to counseling, and we were working our way through it. Until recently. In a counseling session, she said that I was wrong to steal his wallet, phone, and car keys. She said that his divorce is costing him a lot of money, and that I should have dealt with it in a more mature manner, and that it was my fault. I've never admitted to taking his stuff, to begin with. I was afraid he might call the cops. Then I didn't want to give her ammunition in case she wanted a divorce. Now I just don't care. I told her that her cheating was the reason her boyfriend is getting divorced, and that I hope his ex takes everything. I'm still not living at home. I have my own apartment, and I'm filing for a divorce. Now that I know how she feels, it's kind of a slap in the face that she's blaming me for his divorce. Well, I mean, the only reason why he got caught was because OP took his clothes. So obviously, yeah, it is his fault. The fact that he was sleeping with OP's wife had nothing to do with the fact that his wife was now divorcing him. Obviously. Also, buddy, this was 2 years ago, so thankfully you're probably in the clear by now, but don't admit to committing a crime like this on Reddit. You did kind of commit a crime by throwing away their possessions, especially if you did throw away his phone, car keys, and wallet. I mean, it was funny. Also, by her still siding with him, that tells you everything that you probably realize, that she's still in contact with him. Something's still going on there. And the fact that after, how much time have they been in counseling? A couple months? And she's willing to just drop in the middle of counseling that you're responsible for him getting a divorce? Those two were 100% still talking. Cross-posted from r/Am I the Asshole. Am I the asshole for refusing to donate my kidney to my dying sister because she got with my high school bully? Throwaway because this has a lot more personal information than I want on my main. All names are fake though. Also, fuck mobile formatting. I'm a 35-year-old gay man. When I was in high school, I was bullied severely by Darren. I won't go into the details, but it was really bad. Past the point of typical high school douchebaggery. In my sophomore year, I made the mistake of coming out to one of my friends who promptly spread this information around the school. Before this, Darren had targeted me for being unathletic and wearing glasses, and had done this to a couple other kids as well. But after I was outed, it was only me, and only because of my sexuality. After high school, I moved away for college. I made friends, even got a boyfriend, and pretty much forgot about Darren. Until one Thanksgiving. My sister, Ellie, brought home her boyfriend, Darren. No joke, the first thing he said to me when he saw me was, "Damn, Ellie, you didn't tell me your brother's a f-." Ellie fucking laughed. As did my dad. I was kind of stunned, but I didn't yell or start a fight. I just got up and walked out. After the fact, my family tried to play it off as Darren was just joking because he was nervous meeting my family, and they told me that he and Ellie were serious, so I had to get over it. I just told them all that I wouldn't be attending any event where Darren was. In private, I told Ellie that I felt hurt that she'd date Darren, knowing what he did to me. She basically called me too sensitive and told me she has the right to date who she likes, which, yeah, she does. Since then, I've been putting distance between myself and my family, who seem to have readily accepted Darren into the fold. Recently, my mom reached out to tell me that Ellie was in the hospital and needed a kidney transplant. The rest of the family had been tested and none could donate, and my mom wanted me to get tested because I'm her full brother with a high likelihood of a match. The thing is, after all these years, Ellie is basically a stranger to me. If I were to do this, I'd have to drive 3 states back to my hometown, miss who knows how much work, and give up a piece of my flesh, all for the woman who dated and eventually married the guy who made my high school days a living hell. I told my mom that I wouldn't be getting tested, and she freaked out at me over the phone. I quickly hung up on her, but before I did, I heard her call me a vindictive monster for refusing to save my sister's life. I admit, I feel guilty about it. Gotta love they get called a slur, and then when you're upset by that, it's, "Oh, get over it. He was just trying to lighten the mood a little bit." You guys laughed at that, and your true colors were on full display because why else would you have laughed at that, at your own son being called that slur? Normal people don't use slurs to break the ice. That's a piss poor excuse for Darren's behavior. To top it all off, there's a very lovely comment by the Siren Song. He wouldn't be allowed to donate anyway. The moment one of us, the medical peeps, gets even a hint of him being bullied, manipulated, or intimidated into this, it all stops. We even have special counselors who are there only for the live donor. We don't talk to them. The recipient and their family don't talk to them. They don't even pull records until they have spoken to the potential donor. So if you aren't 100% certain, enthusiastic, and above all else, free of any influence that hinder this being your decision and yours alone, no worries, we got you. Don't want to cause drama with the assholes in your family? Fine. Maybe get your blood drawn and play along a bit. You'll know when to say, "I don't want to do this," and we can make it look like some medical reason. Just let one of us know, even a hint. This isn't the first time we've dealt with things like this, and we know the difference between a little nervous and under duress. If your nurse is helping you change into a gown, say, "I don't want to do this, but I don't want my family to hate me." Done! Go ahead and change into the gown, and I will have the doctor come look at you. You'll be examined and then disqualified. Yes, your brother is a good and selfless soul for offering his kidney to his beloved sister, but unfortunately his cardiac markers were negative. His triglycerides were also slightly elevated, so that disqualifies him from being a donor. Good luck on that kidney hunt. Also, fun fact, if you eat pasta the night before a lipid panel, it can make your triglycerides temporarily elevated. Also, Darren's had a decade to improve his behavior or be a better soul to OP and maybe potentially apologize. That never happened. So, yeah, take that as you will for how Ellie is as a person. This post was cross-posted from Best Of and was originally collected by Too Hot, Too Heavy. Original OP being Throwaway Am I the Asshole 90101 and r/Am I the Asshole. Am I the asshole for staying neutral in a situation between my son and my daughter plus wife? May 5th, 2021. This all started a couple of years ago and it completely split our family apart. My son, Z, 22 male, has pretty much been estranged from us since he was 18. Adam is the son of good family friends. He and my daughter, P, 24 female, begun dating around when they were 19. The problem is, Adam was a bully to my son throughout school. As you can imagine, he didn't take it very well. He was furious. However, my daughter refused to budge on this. I tried to stay out of the situation, but my wife took my daughter's side, partially as we're good friends with Adam's parents, but also because she thought Z would eventually get over it. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Instead, it made a stark difference in my son's personality. He had become much more aggressive, cold, and disrespectful. He no longer listened to what me or his mother had to say, often using intimidation to get what he wanted. He would also disappear for days at a time without so much as a word. This would more or less carry on until he left for university, after which he probably spent no more than 2 weeks in total back at home, opting to stay with friends or whatever girl he was seeing at the time. He's rejected any olive branch we extended. This has completely destroyed our family, and it especially hurts my wife, as they were quite close before this happened. The last time we spoke was last year, before the lockdown. He called me a coward for sitting on the fence. I understand why he feels the way he does, but was I really wrong to stay neutral in this? I didn't feel like it was my place to control my daughter's dating life. Verdict, you're the asshole. Update, June 25th, 2021, roughly a month and a half later. I wanted to upload this earlier, but I got around to remembering what the password for this was. I did not plan on making an update. It was quite clear that we were in the wrong and we accepted that. However, my son was informed of the original post by one of his cousins. He got in contact and he found it hilarious. My wife managed to convince him to meet up with us and talk. He insisted on me making an update with the takeaways from that conversation, so here it goes. Regarding the post, his exact words were, "Big up the people who showed love and all the people who called me petty can go fuck themselves." He said this with the biggest smile on his face. He also found it hilarious how, despite me trying my best to make him look bad, most of the replies were still ripping into me. I'm sure a lot of people are interested in how he's doing now. I'm happy to say he's outgrown his abrasiveness and has become a very confident, intelligent young man. He's very secretive about what he's doing now, but one thing he is open and proud about is the charity he runs. He happily went into detail about how he works with disadvantaged children and helps get them opportunities, particularly in sports. In regards to his sister and Adam, he seemed completely indifferent to them. He said he wasn't particularly interested in talking about two losers who no one really likes. It was a long conversation. We talked about a lot, but it seemed to end with my son letting us know that while there might be the slightest bit of contact between us, me and my wife will always be on the outside looking in on his life. While this isn't what me and my wife hope for, we are looking at it as a chance to eventually build our relationship back up. This was the main takeaway from everything that happened, but I know there are probably a lot of questions that people want to ask. I'll try my best to get around to answering all of them. The original post was removed as I broke one of the rules. My apologies for that, but I'm sure there is a copy of it floating around. You don't get it, do you? OP has a few comments about how they didn't know what Adam was doing until it was too late, or the fact that they didn't really take their son seriously because they wanted to prioritize their relationship with Adam's parents over the potential that Adam was being a bully. There is additionally a comment from OP that apparently no one knew about Adam's bullying until the sister and Adam were deep into a relationship. So, question for those of you with siblings, because I was an only child growing up. I do have a step-sibling, but it's a bit of a different kind of relationship there. What would your reaction be if you found out the person you had been dating for maybe 6 months, if you found out they were relentlessly tormenting your sibling for a long period of time? Hell, let's say a year, maybe even 2 years. How would you react? Additionally, this is a scenario where neutrality is picking a side. Like, if you were dealing with, Johnny the orphan blender who actively goes to orphanages and drops orphans in blenders, and you had Susie the orphan blender stopper, and you were like, you know what? I'm not going to get involved in this one. This is just not something I really care to be involved in here. You would implicitly have the reaction of, oh, so you're fine, or you don't see an issue with orphans being blended? In a lot of cases, neutrality is just you've picked a side and you don't want to admit it. But the thing is even if, let's say, Adam did apologize, which looking by the comments, it does seem there was some attempt for Adam to apologize, the decision was still made where you guys prioritized Adam and his family over your son's feelings and how he felt about the whole situation. You guys didn't need to force your daughter to break up with Adam, but at least being like, yeah, that's kind of fucked up, or even just on his side or validating his feelings or something would have gone a long ways, but y'all chose Adam and his family over your son, and you're shocked that he's keeping you at arm's length. Cross-posted from r/AskMenAdvice. My friend said this while applying for a job. How can he get reconsidered or apply again? My friend recently applied for a position at a private company that employs a large number of female staff. The interview started off very well. The HR manager was engaged, the atmosphere was positive, and my friend genuinely felt he was making a good impression. Toward the end of the interview, the HR manager asked him a standard question. What are your weaknesses in a work environment? Trying to be funny and lighten the mood, my friend replied, women are my weakness. The HR manager's expression immediately changed. He became noticeably more serious, ended the interview shortly after, and told him, we'll contact you later. It has now been a full month with no update, and my friend is convinced that his joke cost him the job and that he unintentionally sabotaged his chances. The position, however, is still open and posted on the company's website. Given the situation, is there still a chance he could be considered if he reapplies for the same position since it's still available? So I have two tinfoil hat theories for this one. The first one is that there is no friend. This is someone's friend who made a bad joke during the interview, and now the friend is going on to r/AskMenAdvice to see what advice he can get to possibly salvage the friend's interview. Basically, I wouldn't be shocked if there is no friend, and this is just someone using the guise of friends so that way the hate doesn't fall back onto them, it falls back onto their friend. The other option, which is also just a fun tinfoil hat theory, there is a friend, but when he was retelling the story, he made the joke less offensive than it actually was. That's not to say that the joke in question is still not inappropriate and would definitely kneecap your entire interview. I'm just in the mindset of, this is what he was willing to share, so what do you think he wasn't willing to share? But to answer your question, no, there is nothing he can do to reapply for that job because it's basically okay, if this was supposed to be a joke, then this is his sense of humor and he's not a fit for the company culture. Or either he was being truthful and now he's lying just so he can get reevaluated for the job and now he's going to be an HR risk. Either way, he's an HR risk and he's just not worth having around. They're going to see this guy, whether it's OP or OP's friend, as being a potential walking lawsuit. A liability, if you would. This would be like running a pet store and you're trying to hire a guy and he refers to the fish as wet hacky sacks. You would have a lot of questions and a hell of a lot of hesitations hiring him into your store. As just some general life advice, try to avoid making jokes during interviews, because that's a really easy way to accidentally handicap yourself. Because not only would you come off as being potentially unprofessional or unserious, but in OP's case, you might out yourself as being a potential risk to a majority of the company. This one was cross-posted from r/wedding drama. My photographer monopolized our whole ceremony. So I still had an amazing time this past Saturday. I got married to the love of my life and my best friend, but looking back, we both agree that our photographer kind of monopolized and guided the flow of our wedding to his whim. Here's kind of a rundown. I don't know if this is normal, everyone I talked to seemed to be taken aback by it. So, ceremony and stuff leading up to it went well. Photographer even checked in with me to see how I'm feeling / take pictures with them. Sorry, I had to pause for a second there. I wasn't expecting to see that. In a wedding post. Take pictures with the Mariners moose that I hired to be at the wedding, the baseball mascot. Then he took the moose to the bride's changing room. I obviously wasn't there because it was before the ceremony, but apparently he took like 20 minutes of the moose's time. He was only there for 30 minutes, taking like an excessive amount of pictures, having each combination of bridesmaids kiss the moose cheeks, bride and bridesmaids do the same, then everyone, etc., etc. I learned this after the fact the bride told me. I was like, what? He only then had like 5 minutes to mingle with everyone else. Lots of people had kids and loved the Mariners. Main thing was after ceremony, so ceremony ended, we walked down the aisle side by side, then we had to sign marriage license. We had to hold on to sign it, while the pen was already touching the paper, and shift around so the lighting could be just right for some photos. This ended up making our officiant goof and sign his name twice in the same box. Easy fix, auditor just white out extra signature, but still, photographer was too involved. This next part pissed us off the most. We were taking pictures with family, best man and bridesmaids, for what seemed like 90 minutes after marriage certificate signing and before our grand entrance into reception hall. The food there was delivered and getting cold about 20 minutes in. Bride's mom was tasked with distributing people to go get food, but she was with us with the photographer. So I had to step away, ignore the photographer, and tell our master of ceremonies to tell people to go get some food table by table. Seemed like a long time to have bride and groom missing, and their food was bordering on being cold. Then, add in 30 more minutes. We took some pictures that were by a nearby trail. Wooded area, like 29 feet, paved, super nice. But some of the poses were dumb and creepy. Like one was me, the groom, putting one of my legs up on the banister with my hands in my pockets. Think like those black cowboy silhouettes you sometimes see in yards. And then one was me crossing my legs at my ankles and looking at the bride. Also, during the group photos, he took like 20 pictures of me having a big smile and looking into the eyes of my best man. Weird. And then final pose on trail was we had to walk like 50 straight feet. My bride and me looking smiling. I mean, probably good pictures, but I was over it at that point. By the time we finally sat down at the Sweetheart, we got some food. It was ice cold. And then, because he took like 2 hours for a photo session, the whole agenda was cramped, so we had to rush through cake cutting and dances. And then, his shift was up at 6 p.m. We had the venue till 12 a.m. So he made the announcement to do the grand exit tunnel with bubbles outside. And I'm like, what now after that announcement? But people were already getting up to do that. So we did that, but then, once people were outside, then the natural thing to do is then leave. Me and the bride were just starting to mingle with people. I don't know if I'm overreacting, but we felt like he monopolized the whole day. And we should have said something. But didn't even get a chance to with all of his directions and demands. And we just wanted to get it done, but didn't know it'd take the whole damn time. So OhNoConsequences just labels this person as being a doormat, and like this is the consequences of them just not saying no to their photographer. And a lot of the complaints boils down to you should have communicated with the photographer that you wanted to move on to different parts of the ceremony and not just pictures. So before we get into one of the comments that I find to be just absolutely impressive, is this a rare instance of valid victim blaming? Because I honestly, when I read this, I have a very hard time sympathizing with OP, because at some point, if you're really having this big of an issue with your photographer, you hired him. You paid him. You can tell him to stop at any point. There is a comment from Big King Swingin'. Now, this comment is massive. I'll have it slowly scroll across screen for those of you who can see the actual video format. When I recorded this, it was 6 minutes long. It's a lot of photography advice, but it's just a lot of information. Point being, this retired photographer points out the fact of they got what they paid for. They hired one photographer who was very clearly inexperienced for the wedding venue, went through the effort to make sure they got plenty of shots that they would have likely wanted or potentially asked for, including the fact that they hired a mascot, and the photographer made the assumption of, mascot's hired, they're going to want photos of the mascot, I'm going to get photos of the mascot. This way, he wouldn't be blasted on Reddit for the fact that they hired a mascot and the photographer got 0 photos with the mascot. There is a lot more in here, like about the fact of they should have probably hired a team of photographers or one photographer who has an assistant to ensure that they have the style they're looking for and getting the shots they're wanting, so this way that they're not dealing with the time crunch. And also, the fact that they were taking 90 plus minutes, in some cases almost 2 hours, shows that they were inexperienced and this was a get-what-you-pay-for situation. A lot of information, and it is very clear that this person has a lot of experience of being a professional photographer. Their too long didn't read is as follows. Too long didn't read, everyone sucks here. Couple only hired one photographer, likely for a small fee. Then, upset when lack of experience plays out in real time, including no one communicating and having everything planned out ahead of time before the day of, including a shot list for the photographer. That couple then decides to blame the photographer for the whole day and anything said photographer did, or delays caused because the couple didn't communicate to the photographer or hire a set of photographers to ensure a smooth day with a shot list and itinerary. Now, OP's response. I just confirmed with a couple of other photographer friends you would make a terrible photographer, and you're rude as fuck and make a bunch of stupid assumptions. My guy, who is an actual professional photographer, said if you acted like any of that at a wedding, he'd fire your ass. Laughing, crying emoji. Jazzy Knows Best responds, perhaps you should have hired one of your many professional photographer friends rather than the one you chose. OP responds to that, they lived out of state and weren't available. Sad emoji. Cross-posted from r/wedding drama. The Bachelorette Trip. Hi everyone, I'm a 2026 bride and I'm having some Bachelorette Trip drama. I have a Bachelorette trip planned to Cancun for November. Because my family really wanted to do a big celebration, so we planned a lavish trip. I wanted to make it clear, I am not making anyone pay my way, and I did not force anyone to come. I have 10 bridesmaids and I invited all of them and extended the invite to other friends and family. I told them, I knew it would be an expensive trip and no hard feelings if they couldn't attend. I sent all the details, including the price up front. Around $1,100. It's an all-inclusive for 5 days. And I ended up with 23 girls agreeing to attend. That is a lot, and I was super thrilled and excited that 7 out of 10 bridesmaids said yes, and so many girls from my family as well. But now, here's the drama. It is getting closer to the time and all expenses are paid besides the flight. The flight is a lot more costly than anticipated, around $700, and the girls are mad. I'm getting constant calls and texts about it, how I shouldn't have planned something so far away, and how I didn't consider the price of plane tickets, and it's too expensive. To be honest, it is putting a huge strain on what is supposed to be a fun celebration for me. My mom has made it clear that these girls all agreed to come on their own will because they wanted a trip, and it's not my fault that the price has gotten out of hand. Some of the girls say I should have included the price of flights when I originally asked, but I did say flights were not included and you would have to fly your way. I'm not sure what to do, and I have some girls wanting to try and back out entirely and get their money back or asking me to find replacements for them. I feel sick that all the best girls in my life are struggling financially because of my bachelor trip, but I really didn't force anyone to do this. But I also know the feeling of being obliged because I asked, but still, if they couldn't do it, they should have said no, right? What should I do here? How should I treat the girls trying to back out? Should I keep looking for replacements for them? Should I tell them it's paid already and figure out the flight? It's the last step and be harsh about it? I really don't know. Help. Edit for details and solution. All women going on the trip are family besides 2 of my bridesmaids, and they aren't giving me the trouble. Most girls did buy their flights already, but others were waiting for Spirit and Frontier to drop their flights. No one is paying my way. I paid for myself. I extended the invite, and though I am the bride and it could be seen as feeling obligated, they are not in the wedding party. Only 7 out of 23 people going are in the bridal party, so there really isn't an obligation to celebrate or do any of the sort. It was mostly a family trip in honor of me, similar if someone were to do a birthday trip or a vow renewal trip, etc. It's just called Bachelorette. And they had the option to decline, like many people did. 35 were invited. I have decided that it is poor planning on their part and hopefully flights go down some, and the issue is resolved. Because I do not want them to feel ill-willed about it or have a bad time. I did not treat anyone with harshness and have been approaching it all with grace, and I am actively looking for replacements for them so they can get their money back when inevitably flight prices don't drop. 2 are the most problematic. The way my travel agent made it seem is the amount is paid for who is coming, and it doesn't matter who fills those spots as I paid in a lump sum for every room, not individually. Airport transfers were arranged for everyone by me. I couldn't give flight estimates because people are flying from different airports, and just for curiosity for what I make my bridesmaids pay for, I did have them get a $69 dress from Azazi, I think that's how you say that, and I paid for their professional hair, getting ready, PJs, and jewelry. They had the option to get professional makeup if they wanted to, which 5 out of 10 opted into, no ill will either way, and that's it. It is a logical wedding, but I provided transportation for all bridal party and their plus ones to all the different locations, getting ready, ceremony, and reception. I heard rumblings of a bridal shower, so they would split the cost of that as well, but I am not involved in that or planning it. But I did hear it is at a family friend's house, but I would never force someone into that, nor am I aware of the cost for it. It is a bit crazy that OP is being flamed for this, and people are blaming her for this. Thankfully, most of OhNoConsequences is very much on the side of the bride. But yeah, that is just poor planning on their part. They booked themselves for a trip, they purchased themselves for that, deposit fee of $1,100, and didn't even bother to get flights, and tried to wait for flight prices to go down, which they didn't. They made a gamble, and the gamble didn't pay out, and now they're blaming OP for it. That sucks. The consequences here is not on the bride for planning an elaborate and lavish trip. People are allowed to do that. Consequences fall on the people who decided to gamble on their plane tickets. Don't forget, today we're launching the 3 opossums in a trench coat blush. Coming live and yeah. But you should definitely buy this blush. It is totally not 3 opossums in a trench coat. Totally not. You should definitely allow this completely non-conspicuous, oddly shaped, distinguished gentleman into your home, who will certainly not lay claim to your pantry. This is in fact 3 opossums in a trench coat who will in fact lay complete desolation to your fridge, pantry, and potentially garbage. On sale now!